when my ex-husband came to our company as the first party to talk about cooperation. I accidentally vomited. My ex-husband took a long look at me, and then gave our company an extra $100 million of project startup capital. The boss smiled from ear to ear and asked doggedly, "KAZEU. Is there something happy today?" The corners of my ex-husband's mouth turned up. My wife is pregnant and I'm going to be a father. It's been less than 2 months since KAZEU and I divorced. And he's my a-hole. At this time, the man is sitting in the conference room, 2 long legs folded stilted legs. Long slender index finger one by one lightly pointing on the conference table. So neatly listen to my PPT. KAZEU. What do you think of this program? I gritted my teeth and kept admonishing myself that he was now party A. And then squeezed out a smile that was worse than a cry. This 12th version of the program. Are you still not satisfied? As soon as the words left my mouth, I was glared at by my boss, who had given me an earful before the meeting to control my temper. Because KAZEU is the most generous party. KAZEU. What do you think? If you're not satisfied, I'll ask them to continue to change. Change your head. I have cursed my boss in my heart for countless times. The program. KAZE deliberately dragged out his voice, which in turn made everyone in the conference room's heart hang in the air. The man's gaze narrowed down, his long eyelashes sweeping down slightly. He laughed out softly, and even the small mole under his right eye seemed to jump. I don't feel too good about it. I knew it. Alas. In fact, I don't blame you guys. It's because I'm recently divorced and in a bad mood. And along with that, I'm not interested in seeing anything. Or else we'll talk about this cooperation later. The boss was anxious to hear. What are you talking about? We will definitely change the program until you are satisfied. It doesn't matter if you are divorced. KAZEU can't find a good one in this condition? KAZEU didn't say anything, but his eyes fell on me again. I'm 30 years old. I can't find a good one. I almost bit my back teeth. This man is so petty. Wasn't it just that when I filed for divorce and he asked me why, I casually remarked that you're 30 and not as capable as you were at 25? He was so angry that he broke the glass in his hand. Men 30 of flour. KAZEU must not be presumptuous. You like what kind? I will pay attention for you. This program you say how to change. Shaolin. Quickly take the book to write down. I silently took out my book, ready to record the requirements of the 13th edition of the program. Or maybe I'll talk to Judy alone. KAZE made a request. Where did the boss dare to disagree? And immediately packed up and left. Instantly. Only the 2 of us were left in the office. Come on, let me tell you my requirements. First of all, the cover of this PPT must be colorful white. Secondly, I want this program simple but connotative, noble but pro-people. KAZE blah 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 say a whole lot. My fist has hardened. Do you want to see what you're talking about? Do you understand me? He looks at me with his head propped up on one hand, his tone a little smug. When I first got divorced, I asked KAZEU to go to the civil office with me. But he didn't agree. Want me to get a divorce? Unless you get down on your knees and beg me. I was so angry that I directly threw the pillow over. Want me to beg you? Dream on. But it turns out that people have to face reality. At the moment, he became my A. I could only have no choice but to say those words. I'm begging you. Can you speak human language? Didn't hear you. Speak up. KAZEU immediately came over. I took a deep breath and suddenly felt my stomach turn. Speak up. I'm listening. If you... Before he could finish his sentence, my nausea had already surged and I immediately stormed out of the conference room. I threw up in the women's restroom. And by the end of the day, all that was left was acid. KAZE's voice sounded outside the door. Are you all right? Immediately followed by the footsteps of a group of people. My assistant Xiaoyu first squeezed in. Sis. What's wrong with you? Did you eat something wrong? I shook my head and walked out of the women's restroom, only to find a group of people looking at me. A negotiation could only be terminated that day. The next day, KA's EU came again. And the boss purposely had people go down to buy coffee and fruits, and even lit smoked incense in the conference room to greet his honored guest. But when I walked into the meeting room, I smelled the fragrance and ran to the restroom to vomit. When I walked out of the women's restroom, I heard someone whispering, "Why is Judy vomiting like this? I didn't see her eat anything in the morning. It can't be that she's pregnant." When I heard that, my footsteps were broken. When I heard this, KA's EU followed me, and we looked at each other, and I broke out in a cold sweat. I've been married for a few years, and I've always taken precautions. But the night before the divorce, KA's EU suddenly knocked on my room door. "There will be no such sweet man as me in the future. It's the last night. Won't you use your benefits as Mrs. Fu?" Because it was the last night, my consciousness was almost blurred later. I can't remember if I did any measures at all. Shouldn't. I took a deep breath when I suddenly heard KA's EU's laughter. He was self-conscious that he was laughing too freely, so he quickly covered his mouth. But he couldn't hide the laughter in his eyes. Seeing how happy he was, the boss laughed along with him. KA's EU. "Is something good?" "Oh, nothing. It's just that I'm probably going to be a father." That I thought about it. Yesterday's program was okay. Let's do it. I'll add an extra 100 million to the money. You guys finish it well. Now the boss smiled even more happily. The whole company was immersed in joy. But human grief and joy are not connected. I covered my belly. Not yet back from the shock. KA's said, and I finalized the details of cooperation. But the conference room aromatherapy he did not like. Want to take me outside, while eating while talking. The boss immediately transferred $20,000 to me to keep this big client company. Just as soon as I went downstairs, I saw KA's EU navigating. Ready to go. Target Civil Affairs Bureau. The whole 13.14 kilometers. Expected to take. What are you doing? Getting ready for a remarriage. Do you want the baby to be born without a father? He met my eyes and tried to kidnap me morally. Unfortunately, I have no morals. We first have to determine if it exists. And secondly, even if it does, it can't have human rights right now. It's up to me to decide whether it lives or dies. And I'm perfectly capable of giving him a new father. Upon hearing about changing dads, KA's EU instantly turns cold. That's impossible. I don't agree. It doesn't matter if you don't agree. I walked directly to his car, pulled open the door and sat in the passenger side. Why don't you hurry up and drive? Anyway, let's make sure it exists first. Why didn't you take measures that night? I stared at the man dead in the face, hoping that he would give me a satisfactory answer. KA's EU sat in the car, fastened his seatbelt, and answered breezily. How else would there be a chance of remarriage? I was dumbfounded. I thought back carefully to the circumstances of that night KA's EU came to me, and only then I reacted to the fact that I was actually being counted. After filing for divorce, KA's EU and I lived in separate rooms. On the last night, KA's EU knocked on my door just after taking a shower. Over the years KA's EU's figure management never fell short. Still carrying water vapor on her body, she appeared in front of me wearing only a bathrobe. Drops of water from her forehead dripped down the ends of her hair, flowing all the way past her jawline, collarbone, chest, and finally hidden at her waist. My eyes traveled all the way down, gulping at the ABS in the bright shadow under the robe. One last night to indulge? You won't get the chance later. KA's EU's words echoed in my ears. Like a temptation for Adam to eat. It was like a snake luring Adam to eat the apple. I couldn't hold back in the end. I didn't expect to fall for KA's EU's trap. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. And I punched KA's EU, who didn't dodge and came over to me and let me hit him. After I finished venting my emotions, he finally opened his mouth. Let's get remarried and keep the baby. Don't even think about it. Don't forget. We were married under false pretenses. I really needed a marriage partner at that time. Because if I didn't get married, my mom would have been obsessed with my marriage. She wasn't after my happiness. She was purely after a higher bride price. When talking to the matchmaker about my marriage, she's like selling merchandise. My daughter graduated from a 211 university. What's the point? She's smart. She'll be able to help her with the kids' homework. I've raised her so well that I don't even let her work when she has her period. When she has her period, I don't even let her work. She's guaranteed to be free of uterine fever. What kind of man do you want? Whatever you want. As long as you can pay the bride price. My family needs money for business. K's EU and I met in college. He's a senior. 1 year older than me. When I joined the student union, he interviewed me and laughed when he saw the information I filled out. Judy, why did you give yourself such a lame English name? Everyone was silent. I changed my name after I went to college. The reason for changing my name was also simple. I was #1 in science in the province. And when a TV station came to my house for an interview, they learned that my name was Lin Xiaodi. The village chief suggested that my mom change my name. Otherwise it wouldn't look good in the newspaper. At first my mom disagreed, yelling that it was because of this name that I had my brother. It was only after the village committee took turns persuading her to change my name. Since she thought the name served such a purpose, I simply gave myself the English name. Defeating magic with magic. Kaze was one of the few people who knew about my family's situation. He's actually in a similar situation to me. He has an older brother above him. And with both his parents favoring his older brother, he's the transparent one in the family. He's been living on his own since middle school. The two of us get together. Rather like a taste of the same disease. I didn't want to be forced by my mom to marry someone. So I married one myself. Kaze's family was rich. But my mom never hit on me. Because when we got married, I told her that Kaze's father was uncaring, and his mother was uncaring. And that he was in debt. Kaze was so busy starting his own business that he couldn't afford to break a penny in half. My mom did not believe it at first. And then found out that the two of us did not even do the wedding. Almost every day in the company hit the ground. She instantly panicked. Fear that I ask for money. She directly deleted my WeChat. Pull my phone into the blacklist. By now, we have not contacted for 5 years. I am all relaxed. Sure that my mother can no longer find me. In this year, filed for divorce. Kazu accompanied me to the hospital to do the examination. Confirmed that I am pregnant this matter. When I walked out of the hospital, I was so angry that I kicked him again. I have just arranged a promotion path for myself. And now, I am going to be interrupted by you. Recently the company vacated a vice president position. In order to this position, I have been planning for a long time. For this I accompanied the customer every day. Stay up late to do the program. See only 1 foot short of the door. And now all ruined. The next day, I went into the office. Everyone was concerned about me. Judy. How are you? Judy. If you are not feeling well, you must tell us in time. A group of people surrounded me, blocking me out. I managed to get away from the crowd and return to my workstation. What are you all surrounding me for? I just ate something bad yesterday. But... Vice President Zhang said you're pregnant. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief. And I landed my gaze on Cartier. When she met my gaze, she didn't panic and still had a calm smile on her face. Judy. We are all co-workers. If you have any difficulties, just say it directly. There is no need to hide it. If you feel that your work is too tiring, you can consider handing over part of your work to Kyoko. Cartier is the vice president of the foreign head office transferred back. Now the company has a vacant vice president position. She would like to leave it to their own employees brought over Kyoko. It looks like sharing. But in fact, she wants to empty me. No need. I just ate a bad stomach. Vice President Shang don't need to worry. In addition, please don't just make rumors. My lawyer is not a vegetarian. As soon as the words left his mouth, Kyoko blocked in front of Cartier. Judy, what are you talking about? Who doesn't know that Cartier doesn't have these thoughts of workplace struggles? She has always just done her job. Yes, yes, yes. Who doesn't know that the company's vice president Cartier is as light as a chrysanthemum? Usually caring for everyone. Warming up this big family in the workplace. That's because of stupid people like Kyoko. Kyoko herself doesn't even realize it and thinks Cartier is promoting her. I don't bother with them. I turn around and take the file to report for work. The boss was very satisfied with KA's cooperation and kept praising me. Only when I was about to leave, he called out to me again. Are you pregnant? Vice President Shang said that? The boss touched his nose in embarrassment. She said she didn't want you to work hard if you're pregnant. And came to remind me of employee care. But if you're pregnant, I'm not pregnant. I interrupted my boss directly. I will get rid of this baby anyway. So it makes no difference whether I admit it now or not. At the end of the evening, I got a call from KASU to pick me up downstairs from the office. Divorced knows to be courteous. I laugh lightly and dawdle dee for half a day before going downstairs. KASU's car was parked downstairs. But someone was a step ahead of me and walked to KASU. KASU. Why are you here? Are you still dissatisfied with the cooperation case? No, I'm looking for someone. KASU is looking for someone. If you have any needs, you can tell me. Judy is young. Things are inevitably negligent. Perhaps I can help you. To say the least. We are also considered alumni. I stood not far away, listening to Cartier and KASU chatting. When Cartier first joined the company, the boss did say that she and I came out of the same university. After she joined the company, Cartier didn't mention it. So I slowly forgot about it. Now that I think about it, I still miss the food in the old school cafeteria. Which cafeteria did KASU like to eat in? KASU has one hand in his pocket, and the other hand is gently clenched into a fist. Every time he was impatient but not good enough to have an attack. It was this action. You will choose Judy to be in charge of the program. In fact, I am very surprised. After all, she forget it. I cannot talk about colleagues. Why don't we find a place to eat? Old classmates to catch up. Vice President Shang. We do come out of the same school is not true. But in school, we two have not said a word. Right. Cartier awkwardly froze in place. Somewhat at a loss for words. Staring at KASU with big, innocent eyes. After so many years of graduation, the only thing you miss is the school cafeteria. Which means that the only thing you cared about when you were in school was the cafeteria too. So don't ask me why I put Judy in charge. That's why. I doubt your ability to do your job. And you're still a VP. KASU hit the nail on the head. And Cartier was dumbfounded. It seems that she still does not know KASU well enough. And her preparations were not done properly. KASU was on the debate team in college. And he disliked people with his mouth. So he could not hide. I usually try to avoid confrontation with him. After Cartier left in a huff, I showed up. KASU just swept me a glance and opened the car door for me. Your co-workers are really strange. You're no better. What are you doing here? There shouldn't be anyone who has nothing better to do than pick up his ex-wife from work. I looked up a lot of tips last night. And I inquired about very good hospitals. So let's go for a detailed checkup. And then after that, we'll have to build a file. And I have no intention of having this child. His words stuttered and he frowned at me. After a long time of silent stalemate, his eyes gradually aggravated. Is it because you don't want to give birth to the child? Or you don't want to give birth to my child? Or you think that you are unhappy because I am counting on you? If that's the case, I apologize. I didn't say a word. Last night, I had already made plans to apply for a vacation break and abort the baby once I finished these few projects at hand. Here we go again. Every time I try to approach you to solve the problem, you just don't say anything. Are you trying to solve me directly? Can you not be so cold and violent with me? Saying that, Kazu directly grabbed my hand and put it near his face. How about you slap me twice to take the edge off? I tried to pull my hand back, but he held on to it. Kazu, I can't understand you. Kazu and I were briefly in a relationship for 2 months. And then I was confronted by my mother's urging to get married. I should say she was eager to use me to get the dowry money. So I told Kazu I wanted to get married. Just 2 months to play flash mob. The general public will not agree. But Kazu just contemplated for a split second, and then opened the mouth. Yes. The wedding to do Chinese or Western style. I was prepared to be rejected by him. But suddenly I was baffled by this question. I did not answer. He was alone talking to himself. I look at the recent auspicious day. Which day is more suitable for the license? How many tables for the wedding banquet? It's just a fake wedding. No need to be so troublesome. Smart as Kazu. He instantly guessed it was my mom's problem. We only got the license. Notified our friends and relatives. And nothing else. He was busy with his business and I was busy with my work. But undeniably, with that marriage license, I suddenly developed a comrade in arms feeling for Kazu to fight together. Until one night 2 months after the wedding, we both drank wine. He suddenly hooked my finger. We're married anyway. Should we play for real? So we pretended to be married. A real couple. Which lasted until 3 months ago. I filed for divorce. Kazu disappeared for 2 days. Then showed up on the 3rd day. Agreeing to the divorce. From the beginning to the end. I couldn't understand his brain wiring. You did all that just to remarry? If that's the case, why didn't you just refuse the divorce in the first place? And if I refused, would you withdraw the idea? That's impossible. I'm the one who makes up my mind and then I'm going to do it. No one can change my mind. You see, if you could change your mind so easily, I would have cried and begged you to take it back. But the truth is that if I did that, you would hate me even more. He spread his hands in aggravation and even glared at me. I just felt my temples jutting. So may I ask what you're doing now? I'm trying to get you back. With that said, Kazu pulls the backseat door straight open. And there's a huge bouquet of flowers in the back seat. The man raised an eyebrow at me triumphantly. How's that? Do you like it? I'll send them to you every day from now on and try to get you back sooner. I tried to understand Kazu's brain circuits, but unfortunately failed to do so, and could only curse a psychopath and run away. But Kazu wasn't kidding when he said he wanted to get me back. The next day, Kazu showed up at my house again with his car. A free ride. Kazu dropped me off at the office and I ran into Cardi downstairs. She watched me get out of Kazu's car, and her normally gentle eyes showed a rare hint of gloom. The two of us walked into the elevator together. And I was about to open my phone to see the schedule sent to me by my junior assistant when Cartier's voice rang out next to me. Judy. As a senior sister, I just want to give you a bit of advice. Don't be too hasty in everything. You will only end up losing more than you gain. I waited for her to follow. Cartier continued to speak in a preachy tone. Always thinking of shortcuts will not yield good results. And it's not good for the company's reputation if you do this and spread the word. She didn't know about my relationship with Kazu. She probably thought I offered myself up for the sake of cooperation. Thank you, Vice President Shang, for your advice. But before that, please take a look at this quarter's turnover. Your contribution's still 0. There's no way to make money if you're as light as a chrysanthemum. I grabbed the first out of the elevator. Then the reflective glass. To see Gardier behind me beeped up. And again looked like an innocent being bullied by me. Sure enough, the next second, Kyoko appeared in front of me. Judy. Are you bullying Gardier again? Sometimes I quite admire Kyoko's affection towards Cartier. Almost pathological following. Just because someone like Kyoko is willing to be a knife. Cartier can continue to maintain her good image of not fighting and caring for everyone. Why do you always get on Cartier's bad side at every turn? Obviously Cartier is such a kind person. I sighed softly and took out a tissue from my pocket and handed it to Kyoko. Wipe your eyes. Don't be used as a gun. Cartier instantly looks innocent. I can't defend myself if you say that. Then shut up. I threw down the sentence and walked into the company, leaving Kyoko to stomp her feet in anger behind her. Soon. There was a rumor in the company that I was relying on my body to get the cooperation. There was even a negotiated cooperation. Because of these gossips, the wife of the partner did not agree to continue our cooperation. It was only after my boss persuaded me that the collaboration was finally continued, only to be transferred to Kyoko. Afterward, I was called into the office by the boss. Judy, I know you must be innocent, but the company has to think about the bigger picture. And isn't the company's reputation built up over the years to make our clients stress us? The boss said while gauging my face. Why don't you take a break for a while lately, and wait for me to take care of these things? I placed the cup in my hand on the table and interrupted the boss with a crisp voice. So now you're trying to unload the company's last quarter's performance amount. But I dragged it up with my own strength. Now because of these gossips, you want to give up on me? I don't mean that. It's just that there's a lot of talk about you right now. Why don't we just give Kyoko the VP position for now, waiting for the wind to pass? I will give you a good move to retreat for progress. I laughed lightly. Playing with the wristwatch did not say. The boss saw this. Hurried to comfort me. I know you are not happy in your heart. In my heart. You are already a vice president. This month I give you more bonuses. Okay, boss. I remember that position transfers are usually arranged at the end of the month. Right? I will settle this matter before the end of the month. By the way, since Kyoko likes my projects so much, let her take them all. The position I want. Naturally no one can take it away from me. I walked out of the office and bumped into Kyoko. She looked at me with a smug look on her face. I surrendered the project and had a lot of free time. Occasionally, when I met Cartier in the pantry, I finally had time to talk to her more. You're still young, so going down a crooked path is unavoidable. I hope this time will teach you a long lesson. I thought about all the sad things in the first half of my life before I forced myself not to laugh out loud. It just so happened that Kyoko also walked into the pantry. I gently patted her shoulder. What is given to you? Take it well. If you want to wear the king's crown, you have to bear the weight of it. Kyoko ignored my words, and went to finish the project with high spirits. But not for long. The project started to have problems one after another. Because I didn't know the exact process, the partners called me directly and asked me to come back to deal with them. Kyoko was crazy busy every day, scolding her assistants and subordinates over and over again. And the conference room was occupied by them every day. I sat in my own office to feel efficient answer the calls from my former collaborators. Judy, your boss said that you are taking a break recently. So when are you coming back? That Kyoko of your company has some brain problems. The terms of the project never match up. If it continues like this, we can't work together anymore. I looked at the opposite conference room as cursing subordinates Kyoko. Helpless sigh. Recently the company has a little internal problems. I was hollowed out. You can rest assured. Wait for me to discuss with the leadership. No matter what the outcome. Certainly the first to complete your cooperation. After hanging up the phone, I stood up and walked to the office door. Through the glass, I smiled towards Kyoko in the conference room. Kyoko in the conference room looked at me and gritted her teeth. You think you can win just by spreading rumors about me, and then purposely messing up my project? I have plenty of projects in my hands. Kyoko tried to save the day. But the collaboration went awry. A shipment of materials was stopped at customs. And because there was no contingency plan, the partner called the boss in anger. The boss immediately called us into his office. Why didn't you have a plan in advance for something this big? Kyoko, what the hell are you doing? Several collaborators have already come to me today. Kyoko drooped her head and cried her eyes red, while I sat on the sofa next to her and drank coffee leisurely. Judy, why don't you go and take care of it? The boss just looked at me. I immediately turned my head and refused. The project is not under my control now. I am afraid it is inconvenient for me to intervene with my current image. I will not do the things that do the grafting for others. These projects are originally yours. Should be completed by you. The credit should also be yours. I recently received several phone calls from partners. All expressed great trust in you. Those rumors are pure nonsense. I will send an announcement this afternoon, so that everyone is not allowed to rumors. I still did not say anything. The boss was a little anxious. After a long stalemate, he called the personnel. He made an announcement and appointed Judy as the vice president of the company. What are you talking about? Kyoko raised her head and shouted anxiously. But the boss glared at her. Judy is the top performer in the company. She deserves to be the vice president. After saying that, the boss looked at me again to change into a smiling face. The end of the project work, you quickly go to deal with it. Need to cooperate with whoever you just say. Everyone dispersed. Wait a minute. I stopped the people who were about to leave, stood up, and walked to Kyoko. Then slapped her hard in the face. Kyoko screamed and covered her face. And I instantly got high. As for Cardia, she ducked away long before I struck. This is what happens when you slander me. Next time you make a random rumor, my lawyer will be coming for you. Oh. Afterwards, I directly took out the recording, which contained Kyoko's voice. Mr. Song may not be clear about what kind of person Judy is. She takes shortcuts based on her youth. Are you really comfortable handing over your cooperation to this kind of person? Kyoko stared wide-eyed at the recorder in my hand without saying a word. I'm sorry. Mr. Song is my old client for many years. I recorded it as early as when you said something bad about me. I directly handed the recording to my boss. I can accept the competition. But this kind of underhanded means of smearing colleagues does not bring better earnings for the company, but instead makes a mess of this kind of end now. The boss was getting furious, accusing Kyoko of lack of ability at one point, and then accusing her of dirty tactics at another. Kyoko's eyes were red from crying, and she finally realized that Cartier had not said a word since the beginning. Cartier, say something for me. Didn't I do what you told me to do? Wasn't it you who told me to discredit Judy? Hearing that, Cartier just gently pushed her away. I will help you plead for mercy. When you say that, I rather don't know what to say. When did I ever instruct you to do these things? What good does it do me? However, you said that Judy is younger than you. In the future she will become the vice president and you will be equal. You are not convinced. Didn't you say? Well, why do you need to slander me? Cartier interrupted her in a rare moment of anger. I stood aside and watched them accuse and blame each other. The boss angrily reprimanded both of them. As they left, Chayoko covered her face and fled in tears. Cartier and I followed her, and Cartier looked at me with eyes that spewed fire. Is this your tactic? Deliberately delegating power. Waiting for her to do something wrong. Contacting clients privately so they can put pressure on the boss. And now stepping up to fix the mess to be the bigger good. In the face of her questioning, I just laughed lightly. After all, I'm not as kind as you are. And I don't want to warm up the workplace. This kind of weak and strong place. I only like to kill. Kyoko was fired the day she became vice president. And when she left, she yelled at Cartier for not treating her like a human being and for using her as a tool. Cartier called the security guards to take her away. But everyone heard it loud and clear. A goodwill that she had earned by putting on airs and graces disappeared at this moment. Cartier was treated with respect by everyone. At the end of the evening, we met again in the elevator. She was again in a preachy tone. Judy, will you really be happy with the position you've gotten in such a hurry, and by hook or by crook? a 35 increase in salary, plus dividend stocks, an extra half month of paid vacation. Wow. So happy. I counted it down piece by piece, watching Cardi clench her fists. This will make you happy. I have nothing to say. Why? Because my happiness makes your eyes water? Her fists clenched tighter. Kyoko is at least our colleague. You're a junior, and I can't agree with you for forcing her to leave with such vicious means. Is that so? But I like the way you can't stand to see me. But you can't do anything about it. To put it bluntly, Cardi is that she can't compete herself. So she creates the appearance that she doesn't want to compete. And in order not to be aggrieved, she still has to find a tool person. And at the same time she has to persuade others not to compete. This kind of brain circuit is generally not thought of. Commonly known as epileptic woman. Only someone like Kyoko would choose to believe it. The elevator finally reaches the first floor and I head out. Cardi still chattering after me. Originally, we can all get along. If you do this, aren't you just destroying the harmony between us all? Cardi stopped talking and I stopped walking at the same time. Outside the company building, there was a man we all knew. Kazu, holding a large bouquet of pink roses with long ribbons hanging down to the ground. His already eye-catching appearance was further enhanced by the bouquet of flowers. Without thinking about anything else, I grabbed Kazu and shoved him into the car. It's embarrassing. Like watching an acquaintance fart. What for? You haven't said whether you like the flowers or not. I shoved him into the car and told him to hurry up and drive. Before the car moved, I swept back at Cardi. She was staring at me dead in the face. The glass she always held in her hand slammed hard on the ground. The car traveled a good distance before I finally sighed in relief. What are you doing here with flowers? What happened to the agreement that we should leave each other alone after the divorce? Today is the 100th day anniversary of our divorce. An important day. Shouldn't we celebrate it? What exactly is there to celebrate? We celebrated the 100th day of our marriage, not the 100th day of our divorce. When I heard Kazu's reasonable tone, I couldn't stand it. I was so focused on Cardi that I forgot about Kazu. I was taken straight to a restaurant. And Kazu was obviously well prepared today. From the way the restaurant was dressed to the dishes served. They were all my favorites. And I'm not interested. You don't like it? Kazu has been carefully watching my face and telling me jokes in between waiting for the food. In fact, I knew he wasn't a good joke teller. And these were probably sorts on the internet. I don't intend to get remarried. So you don't have to waste your time on me. Kazu drooped his head and stirred the sweet soup in front of him with a small spoon. Is it because you don't like me? No, as a matter of fact. I like Kazu very much. And I guess he is the person who knows me the most in this world. When I first graduated, we both went through the hardest days. And I still remember the days when we ate instant noodles together at the office. It wasn't until Kazu's parents realized what their youngest son was capable of and started letting him take over the company that our lives changed forever. But I had become unlike myself. I probably woke up suddenly one day. And every time I attended a party with Kazu, I was labeled Mrs. Fu wants that job. Because of Kazu's relationship received a lot of preferential treatment. But I could never get in touch with the core projects. It's like everyone always thought that I just needed to be a pretty vase. That's why I jumped ship to a new company. But once in a while a collaborator recognizes me. I'd like to be introduced to Kazu if I can. No one cares if my projects are well done, but more if I can introduce them to Kazu. I seem to have become an accessory to Kazu. It was like the person I despised the most at the beginning. My mom had to depend on my dad all her life. She was a sad and pathetic woman. My dad would get drunk and hit on her, complaining about why she couldn't have a son. After me, my mom got pregnant a few times. And when she found out it was a daughter, she aborted it. Then she managed to give birth to my brother and my dad still wasn't satisfied and found all kinds of reasons to pick on her. She had no job, no friends, and nowhere to vent but to blame it all on me. At first, I thought it was all my dad's fault. That he caused my mom to be like this. But after he passed away, my mom still looked the same. Her mind has been deeply imprisoned by my dad. As an appendage, she has long lost her own mind. I don't want to be like this one day. I'm doing well now. And I'm happy every day. Although sometimes I change my program so much that I want to blow up the world. It's better than looking at the world numbly every day. KASU. I love you very much. But I love myself even more. It took me 20 years to escape from that gloomy home. I had to think about myself. KASU was silent for a long time, and then suddenly broke into a smile. From a light smile at the beginning to a smile that got happier and happier. Even to the point of laughing so hard that he couldn't straighten up. Scared me to death. I thought you didn't like me. Do you know that when you mentioned divorce to me, I got drunk and cried for 2 days at the bar? Crying like a dog? With such concerns. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Aren't we husband and wife? If you have concerns, then I have a good solution. Saying that, KASU took out a contract. Then, in the future, you'll be underwriting me. I looked at the contract in front of me, and fell into the longest thought I've ever had. It's actually a transfer of shares. KASU is transferring most of the shares in his hand to me. Get the shares. Join the board of directors. Have no confidence to get the position of chairman within 3 years. By then please Chairman Lin don't forget me. The chaff husband. Are you serious? I turned to the last page of the contract. KASU had already signed it. It means that as long as I sign my name, I can take a big chunk of his fortune. Of course it's serious. It's my fault for ignoring your feelings. Besides, you deserve it. KASU took my hand, who accompanied me to live in the basement. Accompanied me to start a business. I won't forget. I was at a loss for words with one hand pinching the contract. Whoever would have difficulty in calming down when the wealth of the world came crashing down on them. If you agree, you can have a chopstick of meat. If not, you can have a chopstick of vegetables. KASU's hands handed me the chopsticks. I looked at the plates in front of me and angrily slammed them on the ground. Are you playing with me? The table was either steak or lobster. And the only plate of vegetable salad was eaten by him with only salad dressing left. I said, why is this guy just eating veggies tonight? So he's here waiting for me. What does this mean? It means that this is a divine arrangement. KASU attentively cuts my steak, which I visualize as him, and put in my mouth to chew frantically. I'm telling you, don't mess with me in the future. Or else before I could finish my sentence. KASU had already kissed me directly. The change of ownership could not be hidden from the board of directors. KASU's parents soon came to the door and scolded KASU without explanation. You are crazy. In the past when you had to marry her, we tolerated it. But what are you doing now? Giving away the family's foundation to others? You're such a disappointment to us. You're no match for your brother. KASU just laughed in the face of the accusation. I was going to watch the show. But I couldn't help but raise my head when I heard the last sentence. It's true that there's no comparison. After all, it's not rare to be able to be a haste and a loser like that. There's no room for you to talk here. KASU fucking still want to yell at me. I directly pull out the house book. This is my house. Be careful, I'll sue you for trespassing. His mom and I never got along. But I can't argue with KASU. But his mom is still more than enough. After seeing me a few times, his mom didn't dare to fight with me head-on. And turned to KASU again. What's the point of giving the company to this woman? This is my mom and dad's life's work. A lifetime of struggle. And all they got was a mess? One word shut the two old men up instantly. KASU's parents were willing to give the company to KASU purely because the company was on the verge of bankruptcy. The couple had instead pulled out early, and prepared a foundation for their eldest son to clothe and feed him for the rest of his life. In the end, it was KASU who took over the mess and got the company through the crisis. After that, the couple tried to get their shares back and get another position for their eldest son. Unfortunately, they were rejected many times. They showed weakness, apologized, cursed, and tried everything. But KASU just wouldn't let go, and was determined to keep them out of the company's business. Thought they'd given up, but never thought they'd come back to us now. You are not willing to share the shares to mom and dad, to your only brother, but to an outsider. In the end, why? KASU's mother yells angrily at him. But suddenly enrages KASU. He stood up and became furious. I'll tell you why. Because Judy is my favorite person. She's my wife. Without her back then, the company wouldn't have been able to get through the hard times. The company to talk about cooperation is she accompanied me one by one to see investors. We drank around and round. Before finally getting investment. We drink for investment in the dark. Where are you? From the negotiation to the completion of the project. Every step in between was strictly controlled by her. If not for her, there would be no company now. Why can't she be on the board of directors? KASU questioned his parents sternly. You remember my birthday. You remember what I like to eat. You remember that you still have me as your son? Why did you ignore me in the first place? And now you're asking for me? Without Judy, the company wouldn't have made it this far. You are the least qualified people in the world to talk about us. KASU drove his parents away, and told them to leave him alone in the future. The shareholding change went smoothly. Although the old men on the board of directors weren't very happy about my sudden appearance. But that's okay. After all, I like to rise to the occasion. And it's time for them to stop playing golf every day. But before that, I still have to deal with the company's business now. Cartier looked disdainful when she found out about my relationship with KASU. After all, you're just a man on top. In the next second, KASU grabbed my hand tightly. What are you talking about? Don't talk about my gold master like that. Cartier was still trying to be sarcastic, when she suddenly got a call from her boss informing her that she was fired. Why? She reacted quickly. Her eyes almost eating me up. You did this? I should say. You are to blame. If she was willing to say a few words for Kyoko in the first place, maybe Kyoko wouldn't have chosen to jade and just disclose the evidence of embezzlement of public funds with Cartier over the years. Unfortunately, she had always treated Kyoko as a tool person, but never thought that one day, she would betray herself. Cartier was kicked out of the company and blacklisted in the industry. Her so-called behavior of warming up the whole company without fighting did not get her a good word in the end. Where she goes from here is also out of my scope of thinking. After all, my future is still long. And there is still a wide world. The odds are that I won't see her in the future. KASU and I remarried. And this time had a wedding, to which many friends were invited. At the party in the evening, someone asked KASU about his relationship secrets. He talked so eloquently that he didn't realize I was standing right behind him. Of course there are a lot of secrets. For example, first of all, people must be handsome. To keep fit. After all, the husband's appearance. The wife's pride. We do not have any outstanding talent. Is to rely on this face to seduce his wife. Secondly, learn to cook, clean, and try to be a good man to pull full of men. A friend noticed me and immediately asked KASU, are you afraid of your wife? Huh, are you kidding me? I'm a big man. I clenched my fists, intending to hear what he would say about tigers and wolves. How can you not be afraid of your wife? What should I do if my wife runs away and doesn't love me anymore? And all my good character and looks will go up in smoke in an instant. And most importantly, KASU suddenly turned around and hugged me tightly. It turned out that he had found me long ago. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, he hugged me tightly and spoke in a low voice in my ear. The most important thing is, I love you. So I can't leave you.